everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Uh, First of all, thank you to everybody who showed support for my appearance on Leaving Neverland 2. It, uh, it was truly an honor to have some of you deliver some kind words. Uh, uh, you know, my humility is above the through the roof right now. Um, I can't lie and say that I wasn't excited about it because I really was. Um, I said so much that day. I said so much that day. I think it all got conveyed in that one message. Um, I hope Dan, shout out to Dan. I hope Dan can maybe make some kind of way to use that other footage. Um, I don't know. Maybe he'll use it in the next one. Who knows? Or maybe I can get him on here and we can talk about it. Yeah, so like, share, subscribe to my channel. It's the best way to support my channel. Uh, shout out to uh, the Reddit group, the Leaving Neverland Reddit group. They are everybody in there is highly responsible for giving this channel the push because everybody's been supportive. Everybody has totally been on the same page that I've been on when I started this. And it's about getting the information right. It's about doing our duty to humanity and not trying to cover up something so horrific, something that so many kids growing up have to deal with. We have a responsibility to get that story right, and everybody in the Reddit group, um, they've made the Reddit group the village, man, and people have stood with me, and I stand with you all. And I hope that our message never gets lost. Um, it all comes out in the wash, and the truth will prevail. So I need a special salute to you, to all of you in the Reddit Leaving Neverland group. I thank you for just being supportive of what I do, and I feel like we're a family when it comes to this. So thank you. But yeah, so now it's the aftermath. Um, Leaving Neverland to me, our sequel, Leaving Neverland 2, I should say, it got the message across. These kids who were around Michael deserve a chance to fight. They deserve to have their they deserve to have their cries heard. There are a lot of people, and that's a big reason I got into this fight, is because they don't deserve to be called liars. They don't deserve to be shamed the way they're shamed. They deserve an opportunity to fight for what happened to them. And not only is Michael Jackson responsible, but his company is responsible. Those of us who've dug around, we know who the players are. We know who the circle of protection is, right? And when you got a whole company complicit in enabling the one sole CEO of that company becomes complicit. That company absolutely becomes complicit. We have stories of people who separated the parents from the kids. We have stories of people who bought hotels, bought flights for these families and set up so these kids can be alone with Michael. They all had a role in this. They all had a role in this. And I understand in the employment situation, it's hard to do that. But ultimately, the company is doing it so he can thrive. And They deserve a right. They deserve the right to be heard. They deserve the right to be to tell their story and fight for what happened to them. Somebody ought to be held accountable for that. And Michael isn't here. We all acknowledge that. You know, we got it here. We got it wrong while he was here, and we need to admit that. And how that transitions for me is this movie is, I guess it's in limbo. I don't know what they plan to do, but they decided that they were going to try to cover up child molestation, and we know that's not right. We know covering this up ain't the answer. You know, you got all these people who want to defend Michael Jackson. They're rewording stories. They're making red flags, not red flags. There's there's not a good excuse for that. You know, ultimately, we all have a God given moral compass, and protecting children who can't protect themselves should be high on the list. And I know that a lot of these men were kids when I was a kid, right? But this should be the catalyst for us to realize that celebrity can distract us. Celebrity can enable us to miss the message. Um, One of the stories that I told Dan when I did the Leaving Neverland interview was that I had a situation where I said I was going to take this seriously because I started to see when it comes to celebrities, we miss clues. And a lot of them can pay off people and go on about their business. So the incident I told him about was the day that R. Kelly snuck into my high school. Now, you can see my interview on my channel with Dean Michael Hughes, who was my dean of students that actually threw R. Kelly out. What I want people to know is there are a lot of schools where R. Kelly did not get thrown out. But here we are. We have a man who's a hero and was able to throw him out, hence saving the lives of a lot of kids in my school that day. So he didn't let celebrity stop him from doing the right thing. And I believe as a society, we do owe that, especially to children. Protecting a celebrity should never take precedent over protecting a child. It should. And I told him that um, I remember Wade because I watched all the Michael Jackson videos. Like everyone that came on, I watched it. I studied it. I tried to copy dance moves. And you was remember certain faces in the video. And I remember Wade from Black or White. I remember Wade from Jam. I remember Wade from the LA Gear shoot because I used to buy the Source magazine, and I believe they had an ad in there for that. Um, I remember Wade from All Star Weekend. I remember Wade from a lot. Wade was in a rap group, and that's another element that I want to address because hip hop also needs to stand with Wade. Hip hop had a lot of kid groups, and here we are with a kid group that Michael Jackson put in the fold when there were a bunch of other kid groups, and Wade was in that group. Hip hop has a responsibility to stand with Wade on this. But I know a lot of people in hip hop they they idolize Michael Jackson too. But we had kid groups in hip hop at the time, and If something was to happen to one of those kids, then hip hop as a community has to stand for that kid, because we know that the industry is dirty, and we know that it'll chew people up and spit them out. So when I saw Wade, uh, and I continued to see Wade as he grew older and got involved in different things. I always recognized him. Oh yeah, that's the kid that knows Michael Jackson. He's always in his videos. That's what I tied it into, and he's now become this famed dancer, right? He made good, and you always remember, yeah. So when I saw it was Wade, I said, okay, I have to take this seriously, because this is definitely a person that I know was around Michael Jackson during that time. And that's where I said I'm going to watch this and I'm going to take it seriously, because I was just like everybody else. I didn't believe he did anything. I believed there was a setup. I believed all those things. But I said, no, here's a kid that I can identify with, who I know was around him, and I can listen to his story. And hearing his story brought back a lot of the visions of him as a kid, and I couldn't unsee it. Um, on this journey, I dug around to try to get the story right. I've talked to people who knew lots about the case, people who shared data with me, shared information with me, and in a lot of those, and I got some video clips, and in those video clips were people telling stories that I knew was Wade Robson. And then I digested Jimmy Safechuck's story, and now I got video clips of people mentioning Jimmy, right? And these are people in 1993 who were telling on Michael, and they're mentioning kids who say nothing happened. And what do we find out? Now these kids say something happened. So those people were right. That's the message I try to get across to people. It's like, we can't call these guys liars, because their lies were to protect him. And I have to imagine, for somebody like Wade, at least, I owe my whole career to this dude. You get what I'm saying? I owe my whole career to him. Meeting him changed my life. Meeting him put me in places where I probably wouldn't have an opportunity. You know, dancing with Paul Abdul, having songs written for you by Redman, having songs produced by Teddy Riley. Like, Wade has had an amazing ride. James, he's the epitome to me of a kid that was put on a pedestal and just dropped. I take his story seriously. And that's what I want to get into, um, because the people that told on Michael back in the day, they point to the stories that say Michael did this to these kids, and this tells us that they thought these kids were victims. This is how police knew to talk to them, because there were several people who suspected them. Even in Jordan Chandler's statement, he says, you know, if you didn't do this for Michael said if you didn't do this for him, you didn't love him as much as XYZ kid. You know, to me that's some gross like pillow talking, you know, I, everything is just gross to me. And I don't see how people continue to defend Michael after this. You know, I really feel like when people saw that Wade and Jimmy were teaming up, there are a lot of people connected to the Jacksons who were like, okay, this is about to go off the rails. And, you know, the Jacksons are going to defend each other. Uh, the Jackson, that's just what they're going to do. Um, that's what family. I mean, families who do that. Families who defend, you know, families who defend people who they know are not innocent. Because being loyal to the family takes precedent overall. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where I was with it, and I'm glad it aired. Um, there, are, the message is that this is just another step in the progress of these two victims getting their justice. What I see with people who look to protect Michael, uh, they seem to be concerned with the numbers and seem to be concerned with all this trivial stuff about HBO not being involved. I think that it's just an excuse to miss the message. The message is that these dudes are going to get their day in court, and they're going to say whatever it is they need to say. And personally, I think Wade knows a lot more than he's probably ever let on. And if he gets to take the stand, and the estate doesn't try to buy these people out, he's going to pull the curtain back heavily. And it makes you wonder, a lot of these other people who have suspicious stories, where do they stand in this? I'm thinking we're getting to a point where we have to ask tougher questions now. Um, I talked to people who were involved with reporting the case. Um, and a lot of them are tired. A lot of them are like, we screamed and yelled and banged drums that Michael Jackson was problematic with these kids. And you all just keep letting them be around kids and you're not listening to us. And now we have people who want to use misinformation, people who want to, frankly, use documentaries that are shot by fans that really don't get to the tangible data. Um, where do we go? Like, why are all the famous kids quiet? If all these famous kids that were around Michael are not out here leading the charge to defend him, that doesn't look suspicious to anyone. Just a thought. Wayne's already let it be known that he was around Macaulay Culkin more than once. Why wouldn't he be around somebody else? I've seen a picture of another accuser around another famous kid that was around Michael Jackson. I mean, we got to start asking tougher questions to people who we know things. But yeah. So I don't know, man. It's this has definitely not been easy for me. But I want to get the story right, and there are these people out here who's trying to poke holes in every little thing. Uh, if your conscience wants to defend Michael over some kids who we know were around him, who we know slept in his bed night after night, and your conscience doesn't bother you about that, I don't know what to tell you. But let's stop calling the victims liars. If we can prove that this particular kid spent one night in a bed alone with Michael Jackson, that's already enough for me. Some of you don't hold Michael to that standard. And then to know that we have a circle of protection of people who helped Michael be alone with these kids, who made sure they did certain things to cover it up. Like I said, God gave you a moral compass, and that's not on my conscience. All right, so please like, share, subscribe. Uh, Thanks to everybody for supporting the channel, and yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Um, at some point I'm gonna have to transition from the Jacksons. I want to do some fun stories because going through some of these books, you hear hilarious stories about the Jackson family, and there's lots of stories that are not so problematic. You know, every family has their ups and downs. Uh, I think when you're a celebrity, those ups and downs get a little more magnified. But I was thinking about doing something else on the Jacksons. I was thinking about doing something on Paul Abdul or not Randy, Jermaine Jackson. Telling some stories that relate to them. Maybe Jermaine. Maybe Jermaine will be because some of the stories with Jermaine are funny. Jermaine was a successful artist as a solo act at one point. Um, but he's had his ups and downs too. Um, so maybe we'll do that. I don't know. Leave it in the comments below. I'm thinking Jermaine Jackson, maybe Paul Abdul. Um, I just bought a book about Johnny Cochran, maybe something about Johnny Cochran. Um, or maybe just getting on a completely different tangent. Um, Mike Tyson, a lot of stories tied to him, and there were a lot of people who believed him because of his celebrity. When it's clear he might have done something, but uh, you know, just leave it in the comments below. Uh, Thank you all for being supportive, and I look forward to rapping with you soon. Hopefully, I want to maybe do a live stream with some of the Reddit members. Oh yeah, Reddit members, they're under attack. They're snooping around in the Reddit group, obviously, and talking and sharing things. So just keep your head on the swivel. Oh, I might do Latoya. What y'all think? Like we go through all the Latoya statements and then fact check because I have some interesting stuff. I have a video clip because the big thing with Latoya is this: is everybody likes to use that she recanted her story with Barbara Walters, and she said that there were death threats and all these things to her family. Now, I have to say that you know all that is plausible that there was death threats. All of it is plausible that she was forced to talk. However, everything she said was not a lie. And if we pick apart those things that were not lies, like the Jackson faithful like to do with Wade and James, I don't think it would be insensitive to go through those things that she said and find out if we can fact check some of them. So, we'll leave it in the comments below, man, and we'll come to a conclusion on what to do next. So until then, um, let's make sure we show love to the victims. They don't need to be shamed. They don't deserve to be shamed. We need to create an environment where they can all come out and talk. So until next time, y'all, peace out.